So we've had a few more quote-unquote shots fired in the slow burning war, I guess we can put it, with AEW. Well, I guess it was WWE who decided to put up a half hour of SmackDown against Rampage on Friday, which turned out to be an interesting experiment. Also, AEW decided to have an hour pre-show basically on YouTube that featured probably the best match of like the past week on like anything.
Yeah. And I actually watched everything completely out of order. So forgive me if I get things wrong of what happened when. But overall, like the back-to-back days of AEW, I think worked out really well.
Yeah, I was on vacation, so I didn't get to see them until I got home. So I watched them in order in a 4-hour sit down, just a 4-hour, and plus I had New Japan. The finals of the Block A was yesterday. I just have the last match to watch. I was going to watch it before this, but I ran out of time, so I'm going to watch it right after we're done. So we were talking about, Trey and I, we were talking about how the G1 landed with AEW making it nice and not having their show on Wednesday, and the G1 ended up happening during the middle of the week instead of on the weekends like it normally does for the last 2 weeks. So we actually will be caught up and we'll be able to watch everything live, and we won't have AEW on Wednesday to worry about this week again, because they're doing it again Friday, Saturday this coming or this week. So I mean, it's Tuesday today. There's no Dynamite tomorrow, so I will be able to watch the G1 that's happening tomorrow, and then the finals happen on Thursday, so I'll be able to watch Thursday evening, and then on Friday we can finally go back to AEW again. So it all seemed to work out, but the match that ended up being the best match that I've seen in the past week was, of course, Bryan Danielson versus New Japan legend Minoru Suzuki, and that match was just amazing. It was over on YouTube, no less, and Taz had some pretty funny words to say while that match was going on. We'll touch on that when we talk about the match. But what did you think overall about that match, and then how they went through the rest of the week?
I agree that match was the best of what they had. Far superior, in my opinion, to what they had as the actual main event on Rampage proper.
Mm-hmm.
And the women's match on Rampage, I think, should have been the main event on Rampage.
The women's match on Rampage should have been the main.
Ruby Soho versus the Bunny.
Oh, I thought that was a bit of a cluster.
A little bit, but I still think it was a better match than the Inner Circle versus America Top Team.
All right, that's an interesting take.
But I understand why they had that as the main event.
Mm-hmm.
I just think that it wasn't as good of a match. Because it too was a bit of a cluster.
Yeah, it was interesting, to say the least. And then the following night we had Dynamite, and we had some pretty decent matches on that. We had Malakai Black versus Dante Martin, which was excellent. We had what turned out to be FTR versus the Lucha Bros, which seemed to go way shorter than I thought it would go for a AAA Tag Team Championship match between the two of them. But I'm sure
I'm still waiting on AAA to overturn that victory because of the unmasking. If you remove someone's mask under AAA rules, that's an automatic disqualification.
Yes, but they did say it was under AEW rules, so during the match. I know. We'll talk about it. And then, of course, the Super Kliq versus the Dark Order. That match was just excellent. We had a really great promo from Hangman Page. Plus, we had still another good, not great, match of Bryan Danielson versus Bobby Fish.
Yes.
All right. So before we get into the nitty gritty here, you are listening to the That's Wrestling podcast. If you're listening to this as a podcast, we do this show live over on Twitch and on YouTube. So you can come join us in the chat like Jay has done, who actually got a notification from Twitch this time. Comments, question, feedback, you can send those to Eric at thatswrestling.com. You can also follow on Twitter at thatswrestling1 with the number 1. And I try to post when we're going live over there, links to the YouTube and the Twitch. And there's a link to our Discord in the show notes as well. And with me tonight, I have Darryl W. Perry. You can find him at Darryl W. Perry on the Twitter. His stuff is in the show notes as well. How's it going? We haven't talked for a little while.
It's going. And I noticed, just sort of a mention of your wife briefly, noticed that she is about to graduate with her bachelor's.
Yes.
So congratulations to her. And I have filled out my intent to graduate. I'll actually participate in the graduation ceremony in May, but finish up in the fall. I realize it sounds weird, but that way I don't have to like come back 6 months later to actually, graduate.
Yep.
So yeah, that's exciting.
All right, sounds good. So let's get into this show here, and we're gonna go back to the buy-in. We'll touch on the first 2 matches quickly because not a ton happened in them. We started off the show with Ty Conti versus Santana Garrett. I don't really have much to say about this match because it was not good. It looked like they were moving through mud, and I thought they got lost a couple times, and some of the strikes just missed by a mile from both of the ladies, and Ty Conti won with the DD tie.
Yeah, Garrett is still pretty green. I forget what her record was. It was like 0-3 or 0-4, something like that. And I don't know how much experience she has outside of AEW. Ty just isn't in the place to carry a match. But for what it was a match. Probably should have been on Dark, but I'm assuming that the YouTube buy-in is kind of equivalent to having it on Dark. Not really sure, but yeah, it was a win for Ty.
Yeah. They had a nice hype video for Men of the Year and Junior Dos Santos versus the Inner Circle. They had some added commentary from Tony Excalibur, Junior Dos Santos, and Jorge Masvidal. It was pretty straightforward.
Yeah, and it was Junior's first pro wrestling match. So, that came into play a little bit, I think, during the face off. What do we want to call that triple screen thing that they do? I just call it
the split screen interview.
Yeah, it's like a triple split screen interview where Jericho mentions it's going to be his first match, something blah blah blah.
Then we had Lee Moriarty versus Bobby Fish. They did some grappling and submission wrestling to start. Lee goes after the arm a bit, and Bobby hits a slingshot senton for 2, hits a snap suplex. They strike back and forth. Lee hits this weird double stomp. I have no idea what the heck he was trying to do. He did this double stomp, but it looked like he barely clipped Bobby's shoulders. It was weird. Bobby hits a knee to the gut, an exploder into the ropes, and then a round kick to the head for the win. Again, this match felt sluggish as well and a bit sloppy. I'm not sure if I'm the only. A lot of people, other people have said that they like this match, but I thought it was sluggish and sloppy.
And Lee Moriarty is all elite because even in defeat, he impressed Tony Khan when he fought Daniel Garcia, I think it was. So welcome to AEW. You just got murdered by Bobby Fish.
And then we had a awesome match. Minoru Suzuki versus Bryan Danielson. The crowd super hot for this match, and they just put on I'll repeat what other people have said. This was basically a G1 match on this show.
Yeah. Oh, and speaking of G1, I just put it together in my head. Suzuki has been touring the U.S. while the G1's been happening.
Yep.
So he did not take part in the G1 this year.
That would be correct.
Yeah, I just put that together.
So I was a little bummed because, Suzuki in the G1 is like, well, that's just, you have to do it, right? But nope.
Yeah, it's like Undertaker at WrestleMania. Like, he'll come out of retirement to do the thing.
Yeah. So they started off with some grappling. There was a "This is wrestling" chant, and then the two of them just beg each other to strike, and they just beat the crap out of each other. The whole crowd hushes before every strike, which I thought was wonderful.
I love when that happens.
Everybody's going shh, and then like the whole place is silent, and then one of them would hit a strike. It was great.
And did you also notice that during like the traditional yay boo sort of trade of blows, because they were in Miami, and I'm guessing such a large Hispanic population, they were chanting "sí" and "no."
Yes, that was great. Bryan collapsed after a big forearm. Bryan gets up, hits a bunch of kicks and a bunch of elbow strikes. Suzuki puts on an armbar in the ropes and then pulls Bryan to the outside. Suzuki beats him up for quite a while. I
think when Suzuki had the armbar on is when Excalibur started talking about Suzuki's legit MMA experience. Like, he's not just a pro wrestler. Like, he can legit fight too.
Bryan makes a comeback with a flying knee off the apron to the floor, puts on cattle mutilation back in the ring, turns it into a pin attempt. Bryan hits a bunch of kicks in the corner, hits a running drop kick in the corner. Suzuki comes back, hits a penalty kick to the chest for 2. Suzuki then hits the weak, annoying tap, kicks to the head, just kind of bumping the guy with your foot to the head, just toying with him. They exchange strikes. Suzuki puts on an armbar. He stomps on Bryan in the ropes a bit. Suzuki pushes the ref around a little bit, and then he goes over and straightens out the ref's shirt, which I thought was a nice little touch.
Yes.
Bryan tries the label lock. Suzuki rolls into the ropes. They throw a ton of forearms. Suzuki just puts his arms behind his back and gives Bryan a bunch of free shots. Suzuki then hits one massive one, but then Bryan just fires up. They throw a crap ton of forearms. They double open palm strike each other at the same time and go down at the same time. And Taz says, if you're watching TV, you're a dumbass. Sorry, but you're dumber than a box of rocks, because this is awesome.
Yes.
They go back to forearms, tons and tons of forearms. Suzuki tries to get on the rear naked choke. They hit the ropes and they crisscross back and forth at each other until Bryan hits the Busaiku knee and pins Minoru Suzuki for the win. And this match was just awesome.
Yeah, and there was one spot, I think it's when yeah, it was one of the times that Bryan went for the cattle mutilation when Suzuki realized where he was and he sort of rolled himself into the pinning predicament, knowing that his feet would hit the rope. And it's like, that's one of those interesting, sort of counters that you don't see too often.
Yeah. I mean, they're awesome. So, I mean, there's not much more to say about this. If you haven't seen the match, it's on YouTube. Go watch it.
Yes.
Then they had a hype video for CM Punk versus Matt Seidel, which was going to be at the top of the hour on Rampage proper over on TNT. So,
and just curious, not that I really put a lot of stock into, Dave Meltzer's ratings, but a lot of people do. So just curious, any idea what Meltzer gave this match?
It was 4.25 or 4.5.
Yeah, it would have been 5 stars in the Tokyo Dome. But still, yeah. Good match. Really good match.
Then we go to Rampage proper. If I didn't give the date on this is October 15th, 2021. And it kicks off with CM Punk versus Matt Seidel. Actually, back in the video package, they were talking about how they first locked up 17 years ago in some random indie show. And it's been 12 years since they've faced each other. We get a bunch of arm drags from Seidel, and then Punk just takes him down with a shoulder tackle. Actually, they shook hands before the match. I should probably mention that. Some headlock takeovers from Seidel. Seidel works a few stretches. Punk just slams him down with the basic body slam. He's bringing it back. He's using it a lot. Knee strike to the side of the head from Seidel. There's a sign in the crowd that I noticed that said Punk fears Hook. Did you catch that?
I didn't notice that, but alrighty.
It was good. A bunch of leg kicks from Seidel. Punk avoids the lightning spiral, and then Punk hits a drop kick. They both leg lariat each other. Running knee strike in the corner from Punk. Punk gives Seidel a body slam right on the edge of the apron. Seidel's in the tree of woe, but he pulls himself up to avoid the sliding drop kick. They fight up top, and they just punch each other and both fall down to the floor. They both make the 10 count. They exchange strikes. Seidel hits a big jumping knee for a close near fall. Punk counters the lightning spiral with a neck breaker, and then Punk hits a rising knee in the corner, followed up with a short arm clothesline for 2. Punk sits himself on the top, but Seidel brings him down with a leaping head scissors right from the mat, pulling him off the top rope for 2. Seidel works a leg submission. Seidel switches to straitjacket. Punk tries an Anaconda Vice, but Matt is too close to the ropes. A couple of counters. Then Seidel hits a big round kick, hits the lightning spiral, and Punk kicks out. He's the first person to kick out in AEW to the lightning spiral, I believe. And Punk catches a crucifix bomb attempt, hoists him up onto his shoulders, hits the GTS, and gets the win. And he gives Seidel a big hug after the match as well. So it was okay. It was all right. It wasn't great so far. Punk has not been great for me, at least. So,
but it's still good.
It's good, yes. It has left me wanting though. So
far, this match also, they said this match will air without commercials. So there was no commercial, no picture-in-picture. 19-minute match.
Yeah, I mean, it was solid. It's pretty typical for Rampage or Dynamite that they go pretty long into the beginning of the show before doing their first commercial. And I think on Rampage, they might, they've done the 90-second commercial for the first commercial.
Yeah. But this one, like, they made sure to mention in the buy-in, like the Punk Seidel match, commercial free, no commercials during the match, which I guess sort of, what was a little bit of an incentive to get people to tune in to watch it, instead of like, oh, well, they normally take a commercial like 10, 12 minutes in. Oh, they're going to show this thing complete without a commercial break. Okay. I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. It was what it was.
Yeah. Seemed like it was a gimmick to try to get people to watch, I guess.
Dark Order video or promo backstage. They said the band's back together. Hangman Page is back and has a title shot, but the Super Kliq is probably going to get involved, so the Dark Order challenges them to a match. That's about it.
Yeah. I don't know how they think challenging Super Kliq to a match would prevent the Super Kliq from getting involved at Full Gear, but it gives a rationale for the match.
Yeah, I don't know why it needs to bring it up about them getting involved. Just that, hey, we just challenged the Super Kliq because they are douchebags to our friend Adam Page.
Yeah,
that could have been as easy as that.
And I am very pleased that it wasn't Super Kliq versus some iteration of Jurassic Express and Christian.
Right. I'm sure they're going somewhere with that, so I'm sure we'll see it at some point, but not this time at least. Not for like the third time in a row. Next up, we had Ruby Soho versus the Bunny. Ruby's in control early. Bunny hits a running knee to the head, drop kicks Ruby headfirst into the turnbuckle, and then pulls her off the top. And when she does, she hits her head on the top turnbuckle. She hits a sliding lariat in the corner. Ruby hits a few forearms, but Bunny hits a few shots right back. She keeps working on Ruby's neck. Ruby tries a sunset flip for 2, but then Bunny hits a massive clothesline for 2. Ruby tries another roll up. Bunny kicks her in the stomach and throws her to the outside. She pushes Ruby into the barricade. Hits a flatliner on. Ruby then hits a flatliner on the floor. Once they get back into the ring, exchange some strikes. Ruby hits a the head scissor pull in to the turnbuckle. She hits a few running kicks in the corner, which look ridiculous, and I don't know why she does them, because she just runs just to stop to hit like a thrust kick, which makes no sense why you're running if you're not just going to do like the running boot.
Yeah, I don't know. I also don't understand why more people, instead of doing the sunset flip, don't just go ahead and do the Code Red.
That too. So she hits the running kicks in the corner, which are really run, stop, and then do a super kick. A lariat to the back of the head for 2. Bunny hits a cheeky Nando's kick, which I don't think I've ever seen her do, which was awesome because she pulls down the head and like sticks it between the turnbuckle, and hits a super kick. She hits a German suplex off the second rope for a 2 count. Ruby avoids down the rabbit hole and backslide pins Bunny and gets the win. So Ruby picks up the victory here. Penelope Ford runs down after, attacks Ruby on the ramp while she's leaving, and then they throw her into the ring, and Bunny holds her while Ford punches her out with the brass knuckles. Yeah. I thought this match, I mean, you seem to like the match more than me. I wasn't too keen on this match.
I thought it was a good match. Like, I can understand, somebody going the other way on it. But yeah, I personally thought it was a better match than what they had as the main event.
They run down the card for Dynamite. We won't talk about it because we're actually going to talk about Dynamite right after this, so no need to do it. And then they talk about the TBS tournament. Those brackets are going to be announced next week on Rampage. and the world
Which
title.
would actually be this week, so in like 3 days.
Yep, the world title Eliminator tournament kicks off this Friday, and Pac versus Andrade El Idolo #2. So we're going to see that match back.
Yeah, shouldn't they just call it Dos?
I guess. Then we have the Mark Henry split screen with Dan Lambert and company on one side, Inner Circle on the other. Dan Lambert basically says, is all the Inner Circle jerks, all the Inner Circle jerks are just talk, and Junior is ready to go. Inner Circle says they're crazy and they're going to kick their asses, bitches. That's best. That was the summary of it.
Yeah, he is such a good promo.
Dan Lambert is excellent. I have no idea how he became so good, because he's just amazing.
Yeah. But within the world of MMA, you've got to have a hype man, right?
Yeah, but I don't even know.
Isn't he basically the hype man for his fighters?
I guess. I don't know. I've never really heard him talk before, so.
Me either. Like, I don't watch MMA, but I'm assuming he probably does similar stuff in the different MMA promotions.
Yeah, he might. We had Sammy Guevara, Jake Hager, and Chris Jericho versus the Men of the Year, Scorpio Sky, and Ethan Page, plus Junior Dos Santos. So, former UFC heavyweight champion Junior Dos Santos making his in-ring debut here. Dan Lambert, when he comes out, he says that their hometown was singing Jericho's song, but they booed American Top Team, and he gets a shut the fuck up chant for his troubles. And then we get the match going. A little back and forth between Sammy and Sky. Sammy drops him with the drop kick, and Jericho tagged in, and then Junior tagged in on the other side. They exchange strikes. They have a bit of a hockey brawl here. Jericho hits him with a kick on the way in, and Junior then hits a kick to the gut. Jake tagged in. They square off, have a bit of a mock MMA battle. Junior hits a push kick into the corner. Jake hits a double leg takedown. They exchange some strikes. Sky in and Jericho in, but Jericho goes to the outside to confront Jorge Masvidal and Dan Lambert, who are at ringside. So he gets attacked by Ethan Page from behind. I have no idea what Jericho is thinking, taking his eye off the match, but he did. Junior is back in, a bunch of strikes to Jericho. Lambert gets in a cheap shot. I believe there is a "fuck you Lambert" chant. Heat on Jericho for quite a while. Junior hits a power slam and covers for a 2 count. Jericho hits an enziguri and gets a tag to Sammy. Sammy hits a double springboard cutter on Sky. Hits a Spanish fly in the middle on Page. Forearms Junior off the apron. Jericho gets tagged in, hits the double sledge and a lion salt for 2. And Junior and Hager are fighting on the outside. Hager gives Junior a Uranagi through a table, so that takes them out of the match. So Jericho and Sky counter each other a few times. Jericho gets on the walls of Jericho. Paige Van Zant, who is sitting in the front row, jumps the barricade and up onto the apron, distracts the ref. And Jorge Masvidal runs in, hits the running knee, and gets out. And when the ref turns around, Jericho is pinned by Scorpio Sky for the victory. And then the American Top Team comes in, and I love this. Paige was taking selfies in the middle of the ring, which Paige Van Zant is she has gotten completely into this as being a heel. And just watching her is just a treat. They beat up Jericho. Santana and Ortiz run in to get rid of American Top Team and Men of the Year. And then there's a big Inner Circle chant as they go off the air.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if at some point, since AEW likes pointing out that Jake Hager is undefeated in MMA, even though like he's fought people that have like 0-3 records. I think one of the people he beat now has 1 win. But are they going to do some sort of cage fight between Hager and either Dos Santos or Masvidal? Or will they keep it strictly pro wrestling?
I think they'll keep it strictly pro wrestling.
Okay. Good.
I mean, there's definitely not going to be a legit fight between them because Jake Hager is so low on the rankings that he would get destroyed by Junior Dos Santos. So.
Yeah. Or Paige Van Zant.
I'm pretty sure he could beat Paige because she's not that good. She lost most of her fights.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just looking at the records for Jorge and Junior, and I think it was like 21-9 for Jorge or Junior, 35-15 for Jorge. Apparently, Bobby Lashley has been connected to American Top Team, which I did not know before looking to see like who all are the fighters with American Top Team. Paige Van Zant's MMA record is 8-5.
Yeah, she wasn't that good. She was mostly a pretty face.
Okay.
Yeah. But I thought it was good. I think whether the match was good or not, I think the American Top Team guys have really gotten into being these slimy heels. Paige definitely has, pro wrestler written all over her, if she wanted to.
Yes.
If she can actually do the in-ring, but as far as character-wise, she is completely bought in. Junior, same way, he can be a huge heel. Everybody says Junior Dos Santos is one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet, but it tends to be that the nicest guys you'll ever meet can play some of the best heels. So
yeah.
So I mean, they've all really gotten into it, and curious where it continues to go. That we do get a little bit of inkling on Dynamite. So we'll move on to Dynamite the following night, October 16th, 2021, and they kick it off. Punk is on commentary for the evening, and they started off with Malakai Black versus Dante Martin. Leo Rush comes out to the ring with Dante. The Dante and Malakai toss each other around a bit. Black works a single leg, and Black works a few attacks to the knees, grabs a knee bar. Black blocks a springboard, but moments later, Dante hits a poison Rana. Dante hits a springboard cannonball onto the ramp. They were in the theater in Miami, so they had the ramp running right to the edge of the ring, like they do in like Daly's place, and they had and whatnot. Dante hits a super Rana, hits a double jump moonsault, but Black had to run in to catch him because Dante did not jump out far enough. Black goes for a single leg crab. Black has to let it go. He starts selling his ribs like something is bothering him. They mentioned on commentary maybe it has something to do with the black mist. Maybe it's eating him from the inside, something like that. Dante hits a shoulder to the gut. And then Black out of nowhere hits his back heel kick and then slowly goes over for the cover. And that is all she wrote. So both of Leo Rush's prospects come up short 2 nights in a row. Matt Seidel being one. And, Matt Seidel was more of a test case here. And Dante Martin is more of his prospect. Though, interesting to note, as Black was leaving, he did turn back when he was up on the stage and gave Dante a little nod on his way out.
Yeah, and it was interesting where they were, talking about, the black mist eating him from the inside or whatever, which sort of gives you a little bit of, I guess, a glimpse into how his darkness works.
Yeah, more of the lore behind his character and whatnot.
Yeah, and remember back in, I don't know if you were watching wrestling in like the mid 80s, but there were, like supposedly different effects of different colored mist. Like, Muta's green mist did one thing, and then like a blue mist did something. I forget all of the specifics now, but like it just adds a little bit more of that lore surrounding mist in wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, Malakai Black's whole, darkness, whatever. And have they given his finisher a name?
No.
Or is it just going to be the back heel kick?
They need a freaking name for that, because I'm getting sick of calling it a back heel kick.
Yeah, and like when Luchasaurus does something very similar, it's the tail whip.
Right.
Just call it like, I guess they can't call it the Black Mass.
Right.
But they could call it, like the Mass Effect or the Blackout, although somebody else might have a move called the Blackout.
Lance Archer. Lance Archer has a blackout.
Yeah, close enough.
Jay says, I remember hearing it called Sin Eater. She says, I don't know if that's right or not, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't recall hearing
me either.
That, but
they need to give it a name and establish it, because we need to call it something.
Yes.
Next up, we had Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus talking about getting beat up last week, and that Christian is at home, and the Elite come in and attack, and Omega gives Luchasaurus a proper power bomb through the table.
Yeah, I still, the whole thing of, it was a botched power bomb, blah blah blah. You know what? Sometimes just like let a botch be a botch. You're power bombing a dude that's 6'12". Like, you're not going to be able to necessarily do it the right way. Like, at least it wasn't Kevin Nash dropping Paul White on his head.
Yeah, they should have made this into like a storyline where the Elite could never hit a proper power bomb on Luchasaurus. Like, they should have screwed it up again. So it would have been like an ongoing thing. So if it happened in a match, finally they can do it like in a match in a while.
Yeah, and then just be like, he's so big, like we can't do. I don't know what's wrong. We can't do it.
Yeah. Next up, the Inner Circle come out to the ring, all of them. Santana says, "What's up, Miami?" He says it in Spanish, though. Says, 2 nights in a row, and you bring the same energy. While me and Ortiz have been handling our business, we've noticed that our boys here have been dealing with American Top Team. American Top Team come out. Dan says, "Is this the rest of the Inner Circle jerks?" And Dan wants respect. Jericho says, "Hey, everyone, it's Dan Lambert, the fat-faced dipshit." And Jericho says, "Oh, hey, I got questions for you, Paige. You seem to always be where the Inner Circle is. Do you have an obsession with Les Champions? You want to slide into my DMs? Well, don't worry. I wouldn't touch you with your husband's genitalia." And then he says, "I see you taking photos for Instagram. What filter do you use? Do you use Claritin? Do you use Juno, Bimbo, or Bitch?" Which I thought was a pretty funny. That was a pretty good line from Jericho.
I forget at what point Paige had to hold back her husband.
Yep.
Who is also an MMA fighter. Yes. Apparently with a record of 11-0.
It says all the jokes are done. You see your United Inner Circle tonight. No more 5-on-1 beatdowns. We're ready for 5-on-5. And Dan, Oh, what? I don't even know what I meant to write here. I probably went a little dyslexic here. Dan, would you say if it was up to me, I guess. Do you know what he said here?
I don't know verbatim, but he mentioned that Sammy was the only one with a title, so that gave them a little bit of weight. He has some conditions on the match.
Yep. Okay, I got it. Okay, so Dan was saying if it was up to him, we would beat your guys' ass every night and get the easy payday. But many of the year we have other business and other goals, and those plans involve gold. But Sammy, you're the only one with gold in the inner circle, and says he's the only one that has anything to offer. And Sky says that he's pinned Jericho twice. And Sammy says, I don't care. I'll beat all your asses. I'm the TNT champ, and I'll see you next week and beat all your asses. And basically it's going to come down to there's going to be some sort of stipulation in order for the inner circle to get the 5-on-5 match that Dan wants to lay out. So I'm assuming it's going to be some sort of challenge of one of his guys for Sammy's TNT championship to then get the 5-on-5 match.
That would be a lot better than what I have floating around in my brain that probably came straight from watching too much WCW in 1999 and 2000. And that is whoever gets the pinfall becomes the new TNT champion.
Oh, yeah. No. I'm pretty sure Dan's going to be along the lines of, okay, in order for us to give you your 5-on-5 match, we want Scorpio Sky to get a title match against Sammy. That's our price for you to get your 5-on-5 match. I think that's roughly how it's going to go.
Yeah, that like I said, that would be a lot better than what I was envisioning, which again is probably just from watching way too much WCW in the final days.
Next up, we had La Super Rana, the Super Frogs, versus the Lucha Bros for the AAA Tag Team Championship. And this is what?
AAA.
AAA? Yes.
That's how Justin Roberts said it.
Yes.
The AAA Tag Team Championship.
So I wrote this before it was said. I wrote the Super Frogs, they're dressed head to toe, very conquistador-like. And then right as Punk said it, I thought that's FTR. And then and Punk says, that's FTR. So the announcer's not playing dumb that they don't know who's in the suits. They start fighting. Lucha Bros do pull off the masks, and it is indeed FTR.
Before the Lucha Bros pulled off the masks, one of Les Superanas tried to pull off the mask of I forget if it was Penta or Ray, and that's when it was mentioned. If this were in Mexico, then that would be a disqualification if they actually removed the mask.
Right.
And that's why I was thinking, oh, right, these are the AAA titles. This match should be under AAA rules.
But they clarified and said this is actually under AEW rules. And some of the ideas were that the announcers were not smartened up that the masks were going to be removed. And then when somebody said that, they got in their headset, no, this is AEW rules.
Okay, I missed them saying it was under AEW rules.
Yes, they did say it was under AEW rules right after that. So I'm guessing that's the case. The commentators were not smartened up to what was going to happen. So that was an off the cuff comment from Excalibur. And then they had to clarify.
Yeah.
FTR get the heat on.
Just an absolute genius when it comes to knowing who all of the guys are and the backstories and the rules of all the different promotions.
FTR get the heat on Phoenix for a while. Phoenix hits an alley-oop springboard double drop kick to FTR, with Penta launching him off the ramp into the ring. Penta hits the double drop kick off the top rope to they're calling it the perineum. To the ass. Whatever. There's a double pin. What? To the taint.
The taint. Like, dude got kicked in the taint.
There's a double pin, which I'm not sure was legal. They said it was AEW rules, but this starts feeling like a tornado tag, because I'm pretty sure not the legal men were in there at this point. A few dives from Lucha Bros onto FTR. Penta goes to the outside, avoids a belt shot, but he does get tossed into the timekeeper table. Phoenix goes for his rebound kick, but he gets punched in the face. But he goes for another one and kicks Dax with it. Tully runs down behind the ref's back. Dax hits Phoenix in the face with the belt while he is upside down, doing a flip. And he hits a vertical drop brainbuster. And Dax pins Phoenix. And FTR are the new AAA tag champions.
Yeah, and I just have to say that I love the, like hitting the guy in the face while he's in the middle of doing some flip-de-doo.
Yes.
That's one of my favorite counters.
Yeah, didn't oh crap, I forget what match it was, but didn't Adam Cole I think Adam Cole got super kicked in the face when he was upside down by Johnny Gargano. Was that match?
I don't know.
There was a really good match between Cole and somebody, and one of the counters was somebody did like a springboard. They were like going for like a lion salt type of move, and they super kicked him in the face when they're upside down. It was awesome.
Yeah, and then one of my favorites, like going back many years. I say many, like within the last decade, I think, maybe a little longer. HBK versus Shelton Benjamin, where Benjamin did a springboard and flew almost the whole way across the ring, and HBK super kicked him in the face.
I don't remember that one, but yes.
Yeah.
Next up, we had Tony backstage with Dante and Leo Rush, and Leo says, "What happened tonight was meant to happen. They're growing pains. You have to fail to succeed." And Dante failed because of his own doing, but he knows that. But everything's going to be money because Dante has a new tag partner, and his name is Leo Rush. And Dante looks a little blindsided by that news.
A little blindsided by the news and annoyed that he had to be there for that backstage interview thing after he lost anyway.
Yes. So, I mean, Leo Rush and Dante Martin as a team? Yes, please. That should be awesome. I have no idea how long Darius is out. It sounds like Darius is going to be out for quite a while if they're going to put this team together for a bit.
Or they put this team together and Dante comes back to be like, "No, you are not taking my brother. He's my tag team partner."
Let's see.
It's definitely going to be a storyline.
Ooh, torn ACL. That was it. Okay. So he had ACL surgery. It looks like this is dated April. So if he had ACL in April, he's still got quite a few months to go. Most likely.
Yeah.
That's probably another 4 months to go.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know what the recovery time is on ACL surgery.
Yeah, it's usually like 7 months to a year, depending. So yeah, I guess Darius could still be out for another 4 to 6 months. So I guess that makes sense to put this together now if Darius is not going to be coming back anytime soon. And then we come back from a commercial, and Tony is now with FTR. Says, hey, you guys stole the AAA belts, and now you're fleeing to the parking lot. MJF comes in and says, oh, that was great. And Andrade is there as well, and MJF gets some money from Andrade. So looks like Andrade paid the Pinnacle for the services of FTR. Interesting.
Yeah, and MJF made sure to let him know this is a one-time only deal. Just remember, one time only.
Mm-hmm. Next up, we had a very short match. This was Wheeler Yuta versus Jon Moxley. Moxley is just looking pissed off. He comes down to the ring, beats the shit out of Wheeler, hits the Death Rider, and leaves through the crowd.
1 minute and 11 seconds.
It was awesome. It was the best 1 minute and, what'd you say, 11?
Yeah, I'm honestly surprised it was that long.
It was one of the best 1 minute and 11 second matches I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Tony is backstage with Serena Deeb. He is getting his face all over this show. And he says, well, last week it prevented Sheeta from getting her 50th victory. And, now you have a bit of this attitude change. And Serena says, while I was out, it was only a matter of time when I came back and I had to drag this division up to my level. And then Sheeta comes in and attacks her. And that's it. They just fight a little bit and get pulled apart.
And CM Punk with the line of the night, the week, the year, maybe, set, and hold on, let me...
He said, fabulous head of hair on that Serena Deeb there.
Yes. Yeah, a reference to when she was in the Straight Edge Society with him and Luke Gallows, and she had to shave her head.
Good stuff. Next up, we had an awesome match. The Young Bucks and Adam Cole, so the Super Kliq versus the Dark Order, John Silver, Alex Reynolds, and Evil Uno. Brandon Cutler was the only person at ringside, so all of the Dark Order went back to the back, and it was just Brandon Cutler out with the Super Kliq. Super Kliq attack from behind before the bell. They throw Silver out onto the ramp. Silver reverses a powerbomb into a Rana, though. Alex hits a crossbody to the Bucks on the ramp, and Dark Order hits some triple team on Nick and Adam Cole. John wants Adam Cole, but he ends up fighting with Nick. John goes crazy, hits everyone. It's a cannonball to the floor on Cole, but then Matt hits him with a super kick. Everyone hits somebody with something. Basically, the rotating through their big moves. Double super kick while Alex is upside down before the complete shot from Adam Cole. We get double team from the Bucks on Silver. Adam Cole is tagged in. Silver tries to fight out of the Super Kliq's corner. Heat on Silver for a while. Silver hits a double suplex to the Bucks and tags in Uno. And he catches a kick, tosses it to the ref. So we get a ref-assisted neckbreaker. He catches a super kick from Nick, pulls off his shoe, and then catches another one from Nick and pulls off his sock, and he puts it on his hand like Mr. Socko and puts it in Nick's mouth, which was awesome.
I was wondering where the sock came from.
Oh, he pulled it off of Nick's foot.
Yeah, I thought that he just had like a random sock shoved in his tights and yanked it out. But that makes a lot more sense. Yeah, that he yanked it off of. Yeah, okay.
He caught Nick's super kick, pulled off the shoe. Nick goes for another one. He pulled off his sock, and then you did a Mr. Socko to Nick with his sock, with his own sock. Bucks and Cole go for the super kiss party, but the Bucks get pulled out of the ring when they're hitting the ropes by Silver and Reynolds, and they jump in and kiss Adam Cole on the cheeks, which was so funny because Adam Cole is like so happy about it, and then he realizes that, wait a minute, those are not the Bucks. And then they beat the crap out of Adam Cole. Dark Order hit him with a ton of moves. He eats a stunner, a German suplex, and then something evil. But the Bucks break up the pin. We get dives by the Bucks on Uno and John. Alex and Cole exchange some kicks, but then Alex is hit with a super kick party, Panama Sunrise, BTE trigger, and then the boom. And that is all she wrote, and the Super Kliq get the win.
Yeah, and I'm curious about the grouping from Dark Order here. Because normally, Uno and Grayson tag.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm curious why it wasn't... and I'm really glad Silver was in the match because he's just so fun to watch. But I'm curious why it wasn't Evil Uno, Stu Grayson, and then either 5 or 10.
I think it was because they wanted to show the unity of the Dark Order, because Evil Uno and Alex were the ones having serious problems the past couple months, and now they're in there together.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think that's... And John Silver was the one who made the challenge. So I think that's why this layout of the Dark Order got put in there.
Okay. Makes a little bit more sense then. I was not thinking that through.
Jungle Boy runs down after the match, and he goes right after Adam Cole. They throw him out of the far side of the ring. He grabs a chair from under the ring, and he jumps in, and all of the Kliq has bailed, but Brandon didn't know that they had bailed, and then Brandon gets beaten up, gets put in the snare trap, and Jungle Boy in the snare trap sprays the cold spray into Brandon's face while he's giving him the snare trap, and the rest of the Kliq just walk away and leave him there.
You've gotta love how they throw their goons to the wolves.
Yes, Brandon Cutler is such a good lackey. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And I mean, Michael Nakazawa, he's an excellent lackey too. I love when Kenny was feuding with Jungle Boy, and they came in on that golf cart, and they drove off and left Michael Nakazawa behind for Jungle Boy to beat up. I thought that was great.
Yeah.
Classic.
And then going back to the backstage segment from, I don't remember if it was the Friday or the Saturday, but it's the one where the Super Elite powerbombed Luchasaurus through the table. Cutler took over camera operations, where he just stole the camera from the cameraman.
Yeah, that was early on this show. It was earlier on.
Yeah, being backstage, I don't know why you wouldn't just have it on one of the, tripod rigs. Why have the cameraman holding the camera? But
it's quicker. If you're running and you need to move the camera again, just have somebody hold it.
I'm just thinking, they're standing in front of the step and repeat, where they know they're doing interviews. You wouldn't expect that camera would need to be used to chase somebody around. Yeah.
It's pro wrestling. You got to be ready to move, right? I mean, that's the whole thing. You never know what's going to happen, so you got to be ready to catch it if it does.
Okay.
Be mobile.
See, I'm thinking from, the production standpoint, but yeah, you've got a point as well.
Next up, we had Cody is with Arn Anderson. They pull up to the training facility, and they open the big garage door, and a bunch of the guys from and gals from the Nightmare family are waiting. Says he's gone all Hollywood. He's acting like a piece of shit. They start running a drill in the ring, and they're all like attacking him randomly, and they start beating the crap out of him. He says, "Arn, what are we doing here?"
Hold on. The drill. Arn made sure to reference, like, this is kind of like the bull in the ring that they do in football practice. By the way, it's not allowed in high school or college football practices because of how dangerous it is.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, Arn's old school from back in like the 1940s or whatever, when they didn't care about player safety and whatnot. But yeah, it's that thing where you've got one guy in the middle and then people all around, and then just random people come in and do things and attack.
Cody said,
head on a swivel.
Cody says, Arn, what are we doing here? I'm not learning shit. And Arn then shows a picture to Cody of himself and Dustin Rhodes fighting. And he says, you think your dad was disappointing the kids that night? You think anybody was booing your dad when he was giving me a beating and giving me 30 stitches, or opened me up that got me 30 stitches? He said, no, because I had it coming. And as much as I hate to admit that now, but Malakai Black has it coming. I like this style of video package.
Yeah, it's
shot as a narrative.
It shows a narrative, and it's also not your standard, backstage interview or in-ring segment. And the fact that you had Brock Anderson and Red Velvet, basically telling Cody, like, you fucking suck, dude.
Yeah. I mean, it's been a while since we talked about this, because they haven't done too many of these since, the Dark Order ones were the biggest ones. But I love a regular narrative format video, just like they did in Lucha Underground. The thing is, to make those type of videos work when you have the hidden camera, because they had multiple camera angles and there was no cameraman to be seen. To make them work, the commentary announcers have to ignore the clip. It's for the audience only to know, and not the announcers. I mean, that was a big thing with Lucha Underground. The commentators had no idea what the story behind the scenes was. They weren't, clued in. They didn't see what the audience saw it, but nobody else did. That type of thing.
Yeah, so it's like, the announcers are, they're preparing the script for, the next sort of thing, and they're doing, production stuff instead of watching the TV.
Right.
Got it.
Yeah. I mean, it's for the audiences, and it's not internal to the rest of the show. So it should be played off as this is knowledge that nobody else knows unless they were there.
But here's a question, though, because it's already been established that the wrestlers do watch the show.
Yes.
If the wrestlers watch the show, presumably the announcers would go back to watch the show on like replay. So at some point, the announcers would be privy to the behind the scenes.
Yeah, that's one little problem with this narrative style, is that it just has to be ignored internally to the story. It's just kind of one of those things. If you're going to do it, you just have to ignore it.
Yeah, and thus far, and I know we've only had like two of the Cody interacting with Evil Arn clips, but thus far it's not been mentioned by anybody else.
No, I think they said, what did we just watch? I think they've said something like that on commentary. So
okay,
I don't know. It's one of those things. They don't do it right, I guess I'm trying to say, because they have acknowledged what they saw. Or at least they have in the past. I'm pretty sure they did with Arn burning the suit at Cody's house. I'm not sure what they said after this one. It's just one of those things it's just one of those things that is kind of tough to do in this type of show.
It could later be explained that the statement of what did we just watch could be that they saw a weird commercial for, some local car dealership.
Sure. Yeah. All right. Next up, we had MJF coming down to the ring. He says, "Too bad I'm in a place that smells like hookers and gasoline," which is pretty funny. And he says, "Hey, Justin, you can't announce me for my match with Darby." There is no match with Darby. He then introduces himself. He calls everyone poor. Says, "All right, Darby, come on out for this match." Oh, wait, Darby isn't here? But we had a match tonight and you didn't show up? I guess I did break you mentally. But, of course, they beat him up last week and whatnot. And MJF says, "Wait, what? Darby Allin was attacked last week? I had no idea. I feel horrible. But let's be honest, it's still unprofessional not to show up for your match. And that's why you'll always be the number 2 guy around here. You'll always be mid." And he says he's going to give the crowd the match they wanted, though. He calls out Wardlow. Wardlow drags Bryce, the ref, down to the ring. He makes him start a 10 count. And then Sting's music hits. He comes out with a baseball bat. MJF, like a coward, pushes Wardlow towards him, and he bails. So Wardlow gets hit with the bat, and MJF leaves. Even after Sting threw down the bat, MJF would not engage, and he walked away.
And the 10 count stopped, and he didn't win by default, or whatever it was.
Well, there was no opening bell, so the match never even started.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, good segment, and I loved Shivani on commentary where he said, "You know how you can tell there's not a match? Wardlow didn't come to the ring with him."
Yep.
And there was the reason that Wardlow didn't come to the ring, and it's because Wardlow was in the back with Bryce Remsburg, if that is his real name. And I still don't understand the reference there, but it's a continuing joke that they make.
I think they mentioned it on Unrestricted when they talked to Bryce, but I cannot remember the context.
Okay.
Tony is backstage with Anna Jay and says that, hey, it was a tough night for the Dark Order with the Super Kliq. Britt comes in before she can really say much of anything and says the Dark Order is a bunch of losers and you're nothing without them or Ty Conti. And then they have a little bit of a scrap, and that's about it.
Yes.
Then we had Kiera Hogan versus Penelope Ford, and by God, this was an awful match.
And commentary was just, at least to my recollection, talking about everything other than the match.
Yes, it got very uncomfortable when CM Punk asked if Kiera Hogan was related to some other Hogans.
He didn't specify which one, and everybody was like, Hogan's Heroes? The golfer Ben Hogan?
Anyways, they botched something early, and to Penelope's credit, she grabbed an arm, and I would think they were working on what to do from there, but it just did not go well. Kiera moved away. She was in the corner. Penelope's coming in for a running boot. Kiera moved like 3 seconds early, and Ford had no target for her to even go after, but she still went through the motion. Ford hit a bulldog into the turnbuckle. She dumps Hogan out of the ring, throws her into the barricade, back in the ring. She hits a handspring elbow. They get the heat on Hogan for a while. Hogan knocks Ford off the top, hits a suplex. They throw some strikes and some chops. A few clotheslines from Hogan. She hits a dropkick, shotgun dropkick in the corner. Sliding drop kick for 2. She hit something that was very similar to like a bloody cross that Taiji Ishimori does. But Ford comes back. Ford hit a lethal injection and then tapped out Hogan with the Muda Lock. They didn't call it a lethal injection, but she hit Jay Lethal's finisher.
Yeah, it was a match.
It was a match.
That went almost 8 minutes.
Yeah, which was about 5 minutes too long.
Yeah.
Given how.
And at one point they were talking about the brass knuckles and like where they were hidden, and yeah.
It was not good. Ruby Soho then runs down and gets a little revenge on Penelope. That was about it.
Yes, and I still cannot get out of my head that Booker T was talking about Penelope one time and called her Penelope because apparently he had only seen the name written and never heard it. And yeah, every time I now either see or hear Penelope Ford, I can only ever think of Booker T calling her Penelope.
Well, and now the guys on Wrestle Talk always call her that because of that.
I did not know that.
Yeah. Next up, we had a video of Miro, and he cut a great promo. You know, it's just the regular backstage talking, and he said, "You cursed me. You cursed me to beat me, and now you're not answering. Is that funny to you? You know I love my wife, but I can't go home to her like this. Does that amuse you? Have I displeased you? Am I not valued enough? Not giving your name enough praise? You gave me a body of granite and a neck of sand. Is that a joke? Why have you forsaken me? Why have you forsaken your champion? My God, you will make me your champion, or I will make me your enemy. If you stay silent, I will snap necks under my foot. The next one to redeem is me. The next to forgive is you. Everyone else will know pain until I become your favorite champion. So I see you once again."
Very good promo. Angry Miro is just absolutely amazing. And I am actually slightly surprised that he is not in the Eliminator tournament.
Yes, when we go run down the card, that was like one of the first people I noticed was not in it. Tony's in the ring. He introduces Hangman Page, who has a title shot at Full Gear. JR says in mid-December. It's not. It's mid-November. He says, you and Omega were tag champs. Last year, you faced off with Omega in the Eliminator tournament, and he won and went on to become the AEW champion. Now you have a chance to become champ as well. And Hangman says, well, back in 2019, me and my friends left our homes in Ring of Honor and in New Japan to start AEW, and I was excited then because I believed in our vision, because I believed we would change the world, but I feel like the world actually changed me. I told all of you that I would be the first AEW champion, and I failed. I lost to Jericho, then I lost to Pac, and I felt like I started to lose a lot more. I lost my confidence, I lost my friends, I even lost myself. But one thing I never seemed to lose was all these people chanting cowboy shit. And to me, that's very real. Cowboy shit is telling you on day one that I was taking my shot. Cowboy shit was winning the tag titles with Kenny and defending them every chance we got. Cowboy shit was learning to leave the past in the past and accept new friends in my life. And cowboy shit was taking my chance and putting it on the line with those friends who put their necks out for me. And cowboy shit was having the balls to leave the best run of my life, best run of my career for the birth of a beautiful baby boy. That's cowboy shit. So last week, I finally picked up the phone to put my body on the line, to climb the ladder, to grab my shot. And to me, when you fall off, you got to get back on the horse. You keep blazing ahead, because to me, that is cowboy shit. I am not a fortune teller, and I'm not going to predict how Full Gear will end for me, but I feel like all of you still believe in me, and for the first time, I do too. So a promise I can make is that at Full Gear, I will give you everything. I will give you my heart. I will give you my soul. I will give you every fiber of my being. I'll give you my blood. I'll give you my sweat, and one way or the other, possibly my tears. But what I'm 100% sure of is that at Full Gear, I will give you cowboy shit. This promo is awesome.
Yes, and I'm curious if anybody did a shit counter on that, because there were a lot of them.
At this point, I don't think TNT cares, because I think they tried to push it to see what TNT would say, a few weeks ago when they got like 13 of them on the show, and I don't think TNT gave a crap or gave a shit. So here we are, which is fine, because this didn't seem gratuitous because it had a point.
Right.
So this was great. I have to say Hangman is probably one of the best actual actors in AEW. Especially some of his stuff that he did early pandemic on BTE when he was out in the woods by himself was just amazing. He was so good.
I don't know that I caught any of that.
Oh, you have to go, because he is an amazing actor, just talking to the camera when he's out in the woods trying to get away from society, trying to keep himself safe. And he brought like a bunch of bottles of Jack Daniels in his backpack, and he was like running out, and he was like having to catch bugs or whatever. It was great. Then they run down Rampage coming up. We're going to have Britt Baker versus Anna Jay in a couple days. Pac versus Andrade 2. And then a first round match of the title Eliminator tournament. And then on Dynamite on Saturday, it's going to be Malakai Black versus Cody 3. And then 2 more Eliminator matches.
So the Eliminator brackets.
Yeah, let's skip to that. So
I have this pulled up if you don't.
Oh, I have it. Okay, so on the left side of the bracket, we have 10 and Jon Moxley, and then Orange Cassidy and Powerhouse Hobbs. That match will be the match on Rampage. And then on Dynamite, we have on the right side of the bracket, Dustin Rhodes versus Bryan Danielson, and Lance Archer versus Eddie Kingston.
So I know that they did the Orange Cassidy Powerhouse match for Rampage.
Correct.
Did they specify which other matches? Because they only said 2 of those matches are going to be on Dynamite.
Yes.
And then that leaves one other match to, I don't know if it's going to be on Dark Elevation, or like wait another 4 days and then be on Dynamite in like a week from now.
Yeah, so 10 and Moxley is the one that doesn't have a date on it.
Okay.
Because Dustin and Danielson is happening on Dynamite. Lance Archer and Kingston are happening on Dynamite.
All right, so Danielson and Archer have to win, right?
I would think so.
Although the Archer Kingston is probably the one that
Could go either way.
of these is the one that is closest to being a toss-up.
Yes, I'd think so.
While looking at something on Pro Fight DB, noticed that they already filmed Rampage for next week, so I already know who wins the Orange Cassidy Powerhouse match, which I will not say.
Then we go.
Moxley has to beat 10.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much a no-brainer.
So are we working up to Mox versus Danielson?
I mean,
because that would be a damn good finale at Full Gear.
Correct. I would think that would be pretty awesome. So we will see, but that means one of them is going to get a title match, and if they do put the belt on Hangman, that is going to be very interesting.
Yeah. And like I know that AEW doesn't have the rematch clause.
Right.
But Mox has not had. Has he? Has he had another shot?
He did have his rematch.
Okay, I couldn't remember if he did.
Yeah, it was I think they did at Revolution. Yeah, remember they had the barbed wire death match.
Oh, right. Right.
Yep.
Yes.
Jay says
he couldn't figure out how to hook the pyro up correctly.
Jay says Moxley versus Kingston final. You always hurt the ones you love, and Mox beating Eddie would be a great way to turn him heel.
Ooh.
That would be interesting. Because, Moxley has been pretty broody lately, so...
Yeah. I would love that.
So that'd mean Danielson would have to lose to Kingston.
And I am fine with that. Especially if it gives us that Moxley Kingston that then circles back to when Kingston first came in.
Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of ways that can go with that.
Yeah.
Then we have the main event of the evening, and that was Bryan Danielson versus Bobby Fish. These guys just put on a clinic, and Fish starts off with some strikes. Bryan goes after the knee. Fish goes more strikes. Bryan comes back with a dive. CM Punk accidentally calls him Daniel Bryan. It is difficult. Like, I've called him Daniel Bryan a few times because that's basically what he's been called for the past decade. So
yeah,
it's been difficult.
And I love how CM Punk sort of like trolled JR.
Yep.
While correcting himself, and he was like, "It's not just you. Everybody does it from time to time."
Fish is running into the ring pose. Bobby then kicks Bryan's legs out from under him when he's on the apron, and Fish starts to attack the leg. He racks it against the ring post a couple times. He argues with some of the fans in the front row. We get more strikes back in the ring. Running knee strike to the gut in the corner. More attacks to the leg. Bobby hits a sliding lariat for 2. Bryan grabs an ankle lock and then hits a leg captured German suplex. We get some uppercuts and leg kicks from Bryan. He eats a few from Fish and then catches and hits a couple of dragon screws to Bobby, and then returns the favor of racking the leg into the ring post a few times. He chop blocks the leg. Fish comes back, hits a backdrop driver for 2. He sets Bryan on the top rope and hits a super falcon arrow. And as Bryan kicks out, Bobby grabs on the knee bar. They roll it into both of them having heel hooks on each other. Bryan, with his other free leg, starts kicking Bobby in the face a bunch of times, and he repositioned and snags the knee bar / heel hook, and Bryan Danielson gets the tap out victory over Bobby Fish.
Yeah, this was a good match, and I believe commentary even mentioned that Danielson was, like showing some signs of the match against Suzuki from the night before.
Yeah, I like that little playing it up because it had been 24 hours since he just had a battle with Murder Grandpa.
Yeah, I do think it's hilarious that Murder Grandpa is actually younger than Sting.
Yes, by like 10 years.
Yeah. Murder Grandpa's basically the same age as Jericho, right?
Jericho's, I think, 51, and Suzuki, I believe, is 53.
Okay, so 2 years. That's basically the same age.
Yeah.
Like when you're talking about, like 51 and 53, that's...
Actually, Chris Jericho is still 50. He turns 51 in a couple weeks, so he's
okay.
He's like 2.5 years younger than Suzuki.
Okay.
Yeah. Overall, I mean, good weekend for AEW. Good stuff, I thought. Easy watch. Like I said, I blew through it in one sitting, and I didn't feel dragged down or anything. I guess we have to touch on it. The fun little half-hour experiment from WWE backfired on them because Rampage and SmackDown, on the half hour that they overlapped, AEW did better in the demo. They actually did better in every demo except over 50 or over 50 and over, and women 35 to 49. Every other demo they did better than SmackDown did. Even though SmackDown had more viewers total, they still did better in the demo during that half hour.
Okay, I don't really pay attention to the ratings except when we're doing the podcast and you mention them.
Mm-hmm.
I was just kind of curious why I was seeing, memes about ratings, and then like somebody in one of the wrestling groups I'm in that is actually starting to just be like very toxic in a lot of ways, and I'm probably going to leave it.
Mm-hmm.
Like they were posting like the crying face meme of the guy wearing an AEW shirt and something, and I was like, why can't you just let people like things?
Yeah. So it is what it is, and that's why they are not gonna try a head-to-head when they're back on FS1 in 2 weeks. They're just gonna have Talking Smack during that time.
Yeah, and I'm also curious what sports were happening on Friday. Because it's already been, determined that AEW fans or people that watch AEW tend to be more sports fans than entertainment fans.
Yeah, I don't think there was anything big on Friday, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, I didn't know if there was a baseball game somewhere, hockey. I think basketball is starting up. I know there wasn't a NFL game. I don't know if there were any college football games. But oh yeah, Friday night there was the Red Sox Astros in the ALCS. I don't believe there was. Yeah, it does not appear that there was a National League game. or if there was, I'm not.
It might have been. It might have been.
National League started on Saturday.
All right. So yeah, interesting how it all worked out. But I mean, Rampage doing decent numbers, especially for the time slot, 10 to 11 on Friday night. Not a good time slot. I think I've only watched Rampage live, actually through the entire show live. I don't think I've ever actually watched Rampage live all the way through to the end.
Not even the second dance or whatever the hell they called it.
No, as soon as CM Punk was done, I went to bed and watched the rest of it in the morning.
Yeah, so, if I'm watching it live, I'll watch the whole thing.
Yeah. So rarely, I mostly don't watch it live. I usually watch it the next morning because I just don't want to stay up. Because I know if I'm going to start it, I'm just going to fall asleep halfway through it because I'm an old guy and fall asleep easily.
Yeah. And since you already ran down the card of what's happening this week, they also said that on Friday they'll announce the brackets for the TNT or the TBS championship.
Correct.
Has that bracket been leaked yet?
Not that I know of.
Okay. I've also not searched for it.
Yeah.
I just didn't know if you happen to have seen the bracket, or maybe they didn't show the bracket to the crowd at the James L. Knight Arena.
Yeah, I don't think they did. I mean, there's probably 4 people, maybe 5 that you could say are probably definitely in it, because they've already talked about it, and that's going to be Jade, Thunder Rosa,
Sheeta's got to be in it.
Sky Blue, I assume Sheeta, but that one I'm not sure. Ruby Soho and Nyla, I think.
Yeah, I'm assuming that Sheeta and Deeb will either meet in the first or possibly set it up for a second round match.
Yeah, that's a possibility.
I'm expecting first round just because then you get the payoff of, the double payoff of Sheeta winning her 50th match and it being against the person that prevented her from getting the 50th win the first time she went for it.
Yeah, so I guess we'll see how that plays out. I really don't have a good idea of where they're going to go. I hope to God Jade is not the one who wins the title, because I cannot stand Jade. Her in-ring is awful, and her promos are more awful.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Anything else you want to touch on AEW-wise before we wrap it up here?
No, but I do agree that Jade should not have any championship at any point in the near future.
Yeah. All right, so I don't know on the schedule yet, but I assume Trey and I will be back covering the final 3 nights of G1 either on Thursday or Friday. And because AEW is running Friday, Saturday again, I'm assuming it will be with Trey on Sunday evening. Because I know you can't make Sundays or Mondays, so I'll have to work that out.
If you wind up not doing it with Trey on Sunday or Monday and need me for Tuesday, just let me know a couple days beforehand.
And then we go back to a normal schedule with AEW on Wednesday, and hopefully we won't have any more preemptions to deal with because they'll be moving to TBS on at the beginning of the year. So.
Yes.
All right, so we're going to wrap it up here. Thanks, everybody, for watching and listening to That's Wrestling. If you're listening to this as a podcast, we do this show live on Twitch and on YouTube, so you can come hang out in those chats and chat away. Links are in the show notes for those. Link for our Discord is in the show notes as well. You can follow us on Twitter at That's Wrestling 1 with the number 1. You can follow Darryl at Darryl W. Perry on the Twitter. So for Darryl W. Perry, my name's Eric LaRoche. You've been watching and listening to That's Wrestling. See you later, guys.